My talent is a gift from God. My talent is a divine gift.
Hello viewers, happy new day to you wherever on the Atlas you're watching OITV channels or more Illyri TV channel. We welcome you to our show, Energize Your Talent. It's a program for positive and educative talent information, talent nuggets, and information, knowledge of how to become useful with your talent, of how to turn your talent into a passionate and a profitable venture. Today on the show, Energize Your Talent, we'll be sharing with our listeners and our viewers how to develop their talent. A lot of people might be wondering, I have a skill in this, I have a skill in that, how do I develop it, how do I transform it into becoming something useful? Here at the OITV channel, we will be teaching you and we'll be educating you on how all of this can be brought to light. Stay tuned as we go on a short break. Thank you.
I'm honored and I'm privileged to have by my side officers of the Lagos State Education District 4. Good afternoon, Maz.
Good afternoon.
Please introduce yourself.
I'm Mrs. Ajayi, Director from the Co-Curricular Science and Tech, Education District 4.
I'm Ms. Jinadu, Assistant Director from Education District 4.
Okay, so I have two directors by my side. I'm honored. So please, Maz, I'd like to know your view. Is there a correlation between education and creativity?
Well, there is a correlation, but education, there is a correlation, there's no doubt about that. But education will even ginger your creativity. Education will foster your creativity. You may be creative, but if you are not knowledgeable enough, you will not be able to annex it. That is it.
As the department connotes, co-curricular science and tech department, we deal with co-curricular activities. And when we talk about education, we have the co-curricular aspect, that is the formal and informal. So if we don't teach these students the informal aspect of education, they won't be all-rounded. Okay, so that's the reason we have to go blend along the academic aspect and the co-curricular activities as well to make them agile and active in our education.
Welcome back to OITV channels or more Illyri TV channels. Still on our topic for today, as stated earlier on, energizing your talent. How to develop your talent. On this show, the Energize Your Talent show, it's all about talent. We're going to be having a string of talents broken down, and our young listeners are the major point of focus. We want all our viewers to ensure their words and to ensure all of their toddlers, their children and teenagers key into this, because on OITV channels we're going to be teaching and we're going to be educating all of what it takes to thrive in the recent day world. Back to the topic for today, how to develop your talent. That's what we're treating today. A lot of people will be wondering, how can I develop my talent? How can I develop a particular skill set? We're going to be breaking it down in 7 bullet points, just 7 bullet points. I'd like to take the first bullet point of how to develop your talent. You need to formulate your why. That's a very big question. Why do you want to do this? Why is it this particular talent? You could have 3 talents, you could have 4 talents. You need to decide which you want to focus on. That's the first step. You need to have it clearly defined. It's like a statement of purpose. You need to know, why do you want to do this? That's the first step in developing your talent. Taking your time to answer this question will lead to the next point we're going to be sharing. The next point, when you've asked the question to yourself and to your guardians and to people ahead of you, you need to find out the required techniques. Say for example, if you want to be an artist, you want to know what techniques do you require to be a successful artist? If you want to be a musician, for example, what techniques do you need? So in developing your talent, this is the second step. You need to know what techniques. If you're an architect, you need to know what software is in vogue. You need to know things, what techniques, skill sets that you need to develop this particular talent, because you could have a talent, you could have a skill, and if you don't develop yourself, if you don't have the right techniques, your talent will just be lying fallow, and we don't want that for you. So firstly, we said you need to ask the big question, which is the why. Secondly, you need to find out the required techniques. Now, the third step in developing your talent, still on the Omo Ileri TV show, Energize Your Talent TV program, a program where we like to educate people on talent. The next step, the third step, is what we call the SWOT analysis, where you have your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats. You bring out a talent, you state it, and under the talent, you begin to identify what parts do you do effortlessly, what parts do you struggle with, what are the opportunities in this particular field, in this particular talent, in this skill that you have. And you also find out the threats. What are the threats? Finding out the threats with the aim of scaling through. That's it. So when you do your SWOT analysis, that gives you a guide. And it brings us to something very interesting. For me, I like to say there is no particular success formula or success recipe, which brings us to our next bullet point of creating your own formula for success, creating your own recipe for success. Our viewers, I hope you're following what we're saying. Firstly, we said you need to develop the why. Secondly, you need to find out the techniques. Thirdly, you need to know your strengths, your weaknesses. And now moving on, you need to develop a formula for yourself. I'd like to give a practical example. Some people are able to read in the early hours of the day at midnight, while some people are able to read in a noisy environment, in a lousy environment. So we find out that students pick their own formula. You see some students, they're playing in the classrooms, but when it's midnight, they are up reading, and vice versa for some. So that's creating your own formula for success. So if you have a talent, if you have a skill set, you need to see how you can make it work for you. You shouldn't say because Mr. X or Mr. Y is doing something this way, you also have to follow this particular path. So you need to create your own formula for success. And a lot of people will be asking, how do they create their own formula for success when they are still trying to discover themselves, when they are still trying to, which is what brings us to the next bullet of taking constructive criticism and also having good counsel. When you have a talent or when you have a skill, it's always advisable to have an elder person who is in that same line of career. You don't have to know them physically. The internet has made things very easy right now. You could go on the internet and Google somebody in this particular field, and you have a mentor, you have someone guiding you in things, you have someone you can ask questions and the person can criticize your work. That's the next step. So that's our fifth bullet point for today on how you can develop your talent. I'd like to take us to the sixth point very quickly. The sixth work is something that listeners will not like to hear, but it is the harsh and honest to God truth, the gospel truth, which is putting in the work, doing the work. In developing your talent, there is no hard and fast road to it. You must put in the work. You must pay your dues. You must suffer the good way anyway, not in a bad way, but you must start from a particular point. You can't expect to develop your talent overnight and you expect that it's giving you millions of naira the next day. It's not possible. You need to be patient. You need to trust the process and also follow due process. That's also something very important. You need to ask questions. You need to research and research and research. You shouldn't be in your shell. In developing your talent, you need to know people. You need to know professionals who are in your field, people who have done things similar. You need to ask them questions, engage them, people in and out of your client. You shouldn't restrict yourself to a particular region, to a particular country, or to a particular continent. And lastly, on the OITV nugget for talent, the first one, if you remember, we said you need to develop your why. Why do you want to choose this particular field? Secondly, we talked about finding out the required techniques. What techniques you need to be a better footballer? What techniques you need to be a better broadcaster? What techniques you need to be a better investor? To be a better technician, any field at all, you need to find out the required techniques for you to be better at the field. Next, we talked about finding your strengths and the weaknesses, the SWOT analysis. Our listeners, you can go online to research more about that. We shared the fourth nugget to be creating your own success formula. The fifth one was about having good counsel and taking constructive criticism. The sixth one is about putting the work, as we learned earlier on. A lot of people have talent but are not ready to put in the work. So if you have any talent, you must put in the work. You must rehearse, you must train, you must try to get better and better and better. Rome wasn't built in a day, which is a famous quote. It shows that the people, they put in the work. They kept doing, toiling and toiling. Lastly, celebrating your own progress. In having talent, a lot of times we're too hard on ourselves. It's very important to celebrate our little wins, celebrate our little successes. Those are 7 nuggets we have for you today on OITV in developing your talent, which is on the one hand. And on the other hand also, we like to let our listeners and our audience know that in developing our talent, we must also not forget the God factor. We must trust in God, we must believe in Him, we must let Him know our plans and also hope that all things work together for our favor. Those are the nuggets in developing your talent. In the coming weeks here on OITV channels, we will be sharing more knowledge, we will be sharing tidbits on how to ensure that our talents are maximized. Because we live in a disruptive world right now. Apart from having a college degree, you need to have skill sets. You need to have a talent that can be profitable for you. And that's why here from the studio of the OITV channels, we're trying to make members of the public aware. We're trying to share knowledge. We're trying to make people in the know of what is happening in this day and age. That's why we're here. That's why we're spreading the word. And we're also using this opportunity to inform all our viewers about the Gospel Talent Hunt Show Lagos Season 2, which is powered by OITV or Moileri TV. The second edition of the Gospel Talent Show is a show where young people will have the opportunity, will have the platform to showcase their talents, to express their talents, and to also network with potential investors, potential sponsors, and people who are interested in their talent. That's the big picture of what we're trying to achieve here at OITV. And in the coming weeks, we'll be having content, we'll be dropping a lot of information. We like all our listeners to spread the word. Let your friends, let your family members check the website www.omoileri.com. All of the information needed in achieving the above is right there. The YouTube page as well, Omoileri Television on YouTube. You have past episodes if you want to know what we taught the week before this particular episode, because it's a sequel. We have different shows all about talent, all about explaining what talent is, breaking it down to different subsets and different layers. That's what we're here for, and we'll be looking forward to having each and every one of you join the amazing journey which we are on at OITV or more Ileri television channels. Thank you, our listeners. Bye for now.